Hello mortal, here is Thanatos. And in this video I will guide you into the gardens of Nurgle, where we will study bizarre plants together. Welcome to the painting course of a Feculent Gnarlmaw. The first thing I paint after priming are all the boils and pustles. For that I'll take AK Quick-Gen Plague Yellow. For terrain I prefer AK Quick-Gen because they cover well and are super quick to paint, thanks to their consistency. I load the brush with plenty of paint and spread it generously over the parts to be painted. After painting everything I want with Plague Yellow, I now paint everything fleshy. On this model, that's the tentacles and tubes. For that, I take AK Quick-Gen Reddish flesh. Next, load the brush with plenty of paint and quickly paint the tubes. The paint must not be dry yet for the next step. Now I take a makeup sponge and carefully dab away the liquid paint in various places to create an irregular color pattern. This is very useful for increasing the contrast later. I paint all the pipes using this technique and let everything dry. Now I paint everything alive, like the maggots, flies and the Nurgling. For that I use AK Quick-Gen Putrid White. We are almost at the end of the basic colors, but a few things are still missing. Next we will paint everything metallic. For the bells I'm using AK Quick-Gen again, this time in copper, because I didn't have the Quick-Gen brass unfortunately, but let's test it out. The bells are painted and I love this warm copper. Now I'm painting all the metal parts with AK Quick-Gen Dark Steel. If the paint doesn't cover immediately, simply apply a second coat. I now paint everything bony, such as skulls and bones, with AK Grimey Grey. Now I paint all the rocks and stones with AK Medium Sea Grey. I love this greenish blue grey. As a final step, I paint all the teeth and spikes of the tree. For this I use the highly opaque paint from Army Painter Fanatic, Boney Spikes. For the entire tree I needed one of the new brushes from Army Painter. This one is the Speed Paint brush. After painting I have to say that it's okay to use synthetic brushes for painting terrain. Don't forget the Nurgling's horns and teeth. Oh, look at this cute boy. At this point I have painted everything I want with acrylic paint. I already like the colors, even though everything looks very light and neat. I'm leaving the white primer as it is, as the wood of the tree will only be colored with ink later. Now I protect the model from possible damage caused by White Spirit with the Satin Airbrush paint from Vallejo. Now let the dark arts begin. I take Villainy Ink, Goons Grime and spray a regular coat onto the tree with an airbrush. Of course, you can also do this with a synthetic brush. It's best to wear a protective mask. Since Villainy inks are oil based, you can manipulate them for hours. To do this, you need Q-tips and White Spirit. I also attach the tree to a painting handle to not leave fingerprints on the model. To use this technique, known as reductive technique, dip the Q-tip in White Spirit and gently remove the grime from the model, bringing out the colors underneath as highlight. Now clean the entire tree with White Spirit. Try working with different amounts of White Spirit, as you can achieve extremely different contrasts here. Gnarlmaw oil is not magic in a bottle. Goons Grime is magic in a bottle. Now let everything dry. Look, the Goons Grime is now matte and we already have a stunning effect. Now I want to homogenize any pigment pools and imperfections. To do this, I take a large brush and gently brush over the entire model. Really only use a little pressure and work dry, with no White Spirit. If you say it's just terrain or I want to paint a lot of terrain in a short time, then you're done. Varnish the model to make it non-slip. If you don't say that, stay with me, the magic is coming now. I want to give the tubes and tentacles a really disgusting effect. For this I use Villainy Ink Carrion Crimson. I paint undiluted Carrion Crimson into the recesses of the tube cluster. The coarse pigments in the ink give the flesh the perfect additional texture. I paint a third of the tubes with the ink. I also fill the openings with the ink and leave everything to dry. Look, the ink gives all the flesh an extremely disgusting look. Now I want to add a little depth to the model. I want to separate these ropes from the wood and give the 3 large pastels at the front additional depth. For this I'm using Villainy Ink Ichor of the Damned. I paint the ink directly into the holes and make some streaks around them. Now I paint everything I want to be jet black with the ink. Now I want to paint all the tooth, spikes and parts of the tree that should be darker with the Villainy Ink Decrepit Filth. Once the ink has dried, I take a brush and spread the pigments so the darkened area gradually blends into the lighter area. For the bells, I'm using a brand new color from AK Interaktive, the Wash Verdigris. It's acrylic based and you have to work quickly if you want to remove parts of it. To do this, I paint the bell with plenty of wash and then dab it off again with a makeup sponge and let the wash dry. Nice effect, but I put a little more details on it with a brush. For the steel highlights I use AK True Metal Silver and paint small highlights directly onto the chains. Remember, True Metal is a wax based paint and must be cleaned with White Spirit. I want to make the tree's gums reddish so that it looks nice and fleshy. For this, I use Villainy Ink Caput Mortuum. I also painted the underside of the tree pastels with Caput Mortuum to make them look more biological. I really liked the Verdigris Wash from AK, so I washed the chains again with AK Standart Rust Wash. The silver on the chain is no longer as shiny because you can polish the true metal color well with a brush to make it flatter. Here, the silver is less shiny because it mixes with the ink underneath. I also add a little rust wash where the pastels transition into the metal. You can then easily paint the base to match the bases of your army or gaming table. I will paint the base to match the miniatures from the Warhammer Quest Darkwater box, but I don't know the color scheme yet. Now that I have taken you to the realm of the death, I would like to thank you very much for being here with me until now. This is my first video. The production took days and there are many frustrations. I only noticed many problems with the filming during editing. I apologize for that. I will grow and improve. That's why I need your help. Write to me and tell me what you like, what you liked and what you didn't like so much. Constructive criticism is very welcome. With that, I'll say goodbye and see you next time.